So this is the next card that we're going to make. This background here, we are going to stamp it and emboss it, and then we're going to rub the Inka Gold on it and then use a wet wipe to wipe off the excess. And that embossed area is going to really shine after that, and it's going to make the embossing just pop. So I've got my bird dies already cut. I'm going to ink them so that I can glue my bird together and put it aside so that it's ready for when we need it. And I'm only inking the part of the bird that is going to be showing through. The openings of the die cut. And I'm using brown, and I'm using my champagne color. For no other reason than I felt like it. You could create your birds in whatever colors you wanted. Because there's vines on the back on this stamp, I kind of thought it would look best with kind of a natural-ish color scheme. Now let's glue our die cuts together. And this one goes together super quick. Only a couple pieces to it, but it's amazing how just a couple pieces layered together with different colors is really effective. And then let's glue that wing. All right, set that aside to dry. Let's do the embossed piece. Now the color that I used for my sample is a dark green. I'm using a brighter green for this one, just to show you how the different colors look. So I've got my stamp here, got a piece of paper to put my embossing powder on. The process for this is exactly the same as the sentiments. The only difference is I am using clear powder. And what that's going to do, it's going to protect the color of our background cardstock piece so that you will see it through. You could do it with a gold or a different color powder, but you just wouldn't have the resist. You wouldn't have the color of cardstock that you're using showing up in your card. Make sure you get a nice firm press on there to get it all stamped. Put your stamp aside. There we go. Dump off the excess. And remember, all of that excess goes right back into the container, so you're not wasting anything. So I know some people like to only put just a tiny little bit of embossing powder on their piece, but you might as well just dump a ton of it on there so that you ensure that you're not missing areas. All right, now let's heat this up. Flip it around so that we don't have our heat gun right near our fingers. There we go. So I did get the edge of the stamp on this part here. I'm not going to worry about it too much. This particular one here, I cut it down so that there's a wider part of the card base showing. So I could do that with this, but for right now, I'm just gonna leave it. So all I'm doing is rubbing the colors that I want on my base here. And similar to doing it with the embossing folders, I typically do 3 areas with each color. Rule of odds, oops, there we go. And I'm gonna do some brown, and I think I'm gonna add some gold to this as well. I'm pretty sure I did that with the sample. Just because this champagne color is quite subtle, and I wanted a little bit more of the gold showing to bring out the bird. And if you happen to get your Inka gold a little bit too thick, remember we're going to be going over it with a baby wipe, and that's going to bring out the embossing powder, or the embossed image again. So if your embossed image starts looking a little bit dull, it's just the Inka gold over top of it. And for this last color, I'm just making sure that the rest of the cardstock is covered. I realized I had too much gold altogether there. And just like the embossed part, I do deliberately go like I overlap the colors. A, I like the blend. B, I don't want to have any plain cardstock. So I think we've got everything done. Got our card base ready. I'm going to take my baby wipe, and I don't need to press very hard. And I don't need to be gentle. I don't need to be worrying about the back of the cardstock wiping all of that paste off. It's not going to all wipe off. There we go. So let's glue this to the background of the card. Hold it in place for a second to give that glue some good contact. And then glue your die cut down. Again, I'm using a bird. You can use whatever image you want. Just personal preference. Now I have a sentiment here that is white cardstock with silver embossing powder, and it really doesn't blend well with the whole card. So all we're going to do to make it blend a little bit better is put some of the champagne color on, and then just darken it slightly with the gold. The one thing you do have to worry about with these wax pastes, if you have nails, sometimes you get a little bit under your nails. So I'm trying to be careful, but I'm noticing I'm getting a little bit here and there. All right, so that is done. Let's put some foam Pop Tarts on the back of that. Whoops, that was just the backing of it. And then we'll glue that right to the front of our card there. And there you go. So you see the two different backgrounds. You get a different look with that. Neither one is right or wrong. It's just personal preference. But it's interesting how just changing the color tone of a background changes the look of the card. This one is definitely more bright green, fresh, springy, and this one's definitely a little bit more, I want to say that's a little bit more fall-ish to me, but there you go.